Hey friends, welcome back to the Invigorate Your Journey podcast. I'm Karin Wagner, and I've been striving with lupus for 15 years this month. Well, officially diagnosed this month. It's been such an incredible journey, and I say it with such gratitude and positivity because I would not be the person I am if I hadn't gone through this incredible experience. I think the most important part about it is all the incredible people I've met along the way, including my co-host, Chris Burton, Baddest Chaplain. Chris, I'm so thankful for you doing this with me and just being a part of my journey. And we can so help others going through this with our experiences. And I'm excited to talk about the topic today because we've both had significant experience with this particular challenge.
When you get a diagnosis of anything, you're struggling at the time to sort of see like the benefit of it, right? Or sometimes people get sort of upset and even want to call it like toxic positivity, feel like the silver lining, right? And there's definitely that out there for sure. But just thinking about, and I say this coming off of, we just had our lupus walk here in Richmond last weekend, and just like the amount of just like awesome folks who I've gotten to know better solely because we're all in this community together and able to help each other out. So no, it's a blessing for me too, for sure, no doubt about it. And I think to your point earlier, it feels extra special to be able to share this information with our audience because we're not just talking about things we've only researched. Of course, we do research, but it's also things we've lived and experienced. And today's topic is right up that same vein because we're talking about something that's very common, but also very painful. And it's a symptom of autoimmune diseases that can really reduce your quality of life. And it's something that has affected so many of us within the autoimmune community, for sure.
Joint pain is something I've dealt with a lot throughout my years with lupus. Also really challenged me to dig deep in a number of ways. I mean, mentally and then physically getting through the pain. And so while it's a really tough symptom to deal with, it really kind of forces you to dig deep and get to a place where you can really work through anything. The good thing about today's episode and with our experiences, we can provide some tips and tools to help you both proactively get ahead of joint pain and inflammation, and then also help you with some tools to get through joint pain when you're in the thick of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because when you're in the thick of it, it just feels like everyday tasks are insurmountable. It can be something as simple as trying to open a jar of spaghetti sauce, or trying to turn a doorknob, or if you want to play catch with your kids, or just just trying to go for a walk, or up a flight of stairs. Even every single detail in life, things that now in healthier positions in life you can sort of take for granted, it just really can become so unaccommodating and so just not fun to have to live through. But thankfully, it's not something that has to be a permanent state. It doesn't have to be the ways in which we live forever and ever. There's so many ways out here to reduce joint pain and inflammation. And it's amazing to me as we think about inflammation and joint pain. It's one of those things that if it doesn't bother you, you never think about it. But if it bothers you, you're thinking about it all the time because it really is so connected to your overall quality of life. So hopefully today you'll be able to gain a bunch of great strategies. We're going to share with you some strategies about how we've managed pain, the best solutions out there for managing both pain and inflammation specifically caused by autoimmune diseases.
When we say joint pain, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you experience it, you know it because it can be so incredibly painful.
Oh, yeah.
but it can happen in any part of your body that hinges, whether it's fingers, your elbows.
Everyday,
Like,
yeah,
it's when it's in your elbows, it's like I've never thought about my elbow so often, but now
right.
I'm constantly thinking about it because it's just throbbing, and every
Hmm.
tiny movement can just wreak havoc on
Yes.
you.
And I remember sitting in a church one time, and wherever I sat, like I must have sat at the perfect place for like the AC vent to just like catch me full blast. And I kid you not, it felt like I could count every single bone in my hand. And I could feel like, oh, this knuckle is different from that knuckle. Like you could just, even though sure you could probably like take that educated guess already, but I almost felt like I had X-ray vision. Like I could just see all of the different points of pain that was happening in my body at the exact same time. It was no fun, no fun, no fun.
Have you experienced where it's all over your body, or have you typically gotten it in one or two places?
Unfortunately, I've had the all over the body experience. It's funny. Prior to being diagnosed, that was one of the main ways that lupus was showing up in my body. And I just thought of it as just soreness. And so, first because I had played a lot of basketball that summer, I got diagnosed. I just thought, oh wow, I played too much full court because you're running full court basketball. You're using every muscle group in your body. Like you're like, yeah, I'm moving, and like I had always had like sore knees after playing basketball, for example. So I said, oh, it just must be a thing of that. But when it was like a week and a half and I hadn't gone on the court, and I was like, why does my body still hurt so bad? So yeah, it is affected every part of the body. The elbows really really stink, but just thinking about the ways for me it was like the wrist and like being able to sort of use like the like fine motor skills. I just couldn't, like holding a pen for too long, or for me, like being in New York trying to swipe my metro card, all the little details of like how to live were just painful.
I remember one summer I had joint pain all throughout my body, and it to even lift my arms because it was so prevalent in my shoulders. Like, I
Mm.
couldn't even do anything because to move my arms would just send shooting pains through my shoulders.
Right.
And at that time, when I'm actually in the thick of it, it's tough to know what to do.
Oh, because you just want the pain to just stop. And to your point, I remember I was uh uneducated about it, and I took a very very strong medicine, over the counter medicine, but so often, like every day, in order to just like function, that I actually developed a stomach ulcer as a result, because the pain reliever rather was just too harsh on my stomach.
So then what did you do?
I had to have a procedure to stop the bleeding on my stomach, and I was finding that out in the middle of a lupus flare. So can you imagine just having like, by the way, we need to do this? I was like, I thought I had enough problems.
Let's just add this on. Thank
Yeah,
you.
right, right. So here you
Why
go,
not, right?
on the house, on the house.
But once you couldn't take pain over the counter pain relievers anymore, how did you manage the joint pain?
I think what helped long term was just changing everything. So for me, I just after that second flare up, I didn't make a physical list, but I really gave it a lot of thought in terms of saying, what are the things I do, eat, drink that help? What are the things I do, eat, and drink that don't help? So I really changed the way I approached working out. I tried to like drop that like, super testosterone filled mindset of like trying to be like a bodybuilder in my own head, not having the bodybuilder results, but like in my mind, like, yeah, we're gonna lift so much all the time. Like, and just getting rid of that mindset and really focusing more on like flexibility and moderate workouts, and just consistency in that regard. Thinking about what did I drink, and just say, you know what, I'm going to raise the roof on water, and I'll show y'all. So everyone who is at home thinking I'm just playing around, this is what I try to drink every single day, right? And it's amazing that I never get up and run out of these conversations that we have because I'm drinking a gallon of water every day. So just trying to knock it out. And just thinking about what you eat, the different foods that can cause inflammation all over your body, all that stuff. So it's really, for me, a huge part of it has been sort of reorienting myself in terms of focusing on an anti-inflammatory lifestyle rather than just trying to just treat the pain, because just treating the pain isn't getting to the root of it, you know?
Yeah, and Chris, you bring up a really good point with inflammation. And it's important to understand how inflammation and joint pain are interrelated. It's like in a person without autoimmune disease having a normal functioning immune system,
Mm-hmm.
they'd get an injury or an infection, and then your body sends extra blood and
Right,
to fight off
right.
that. But in us fortunate ones with autoimmune diseases,
Yeah,
our immune systems can't tell the difference between healthy cells and what's truly an infection.
right.
And
Yeah.
so that inflammation and that swelling and sometimes stiffness in the
Mm-hmm.
joints, that's what can actually cause the joint pain.
Yeah.
And when you're in that situation, there's some things you can do with ice and other tactics that we can get into. But to truly get it under control, in my experience, is what you're talking about, eating an anti-inflammatory
Mm-hmm.
diet. Exercise is huge because it all comes back to blood flow. You
Yeah.
got to Yeah, you gotta get your heart pumping, you gotta move, get everything flowing and moving,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll help loosen up the joints.
Reason about it too, Karen, is that it becomes sort of like your body can switch cravings. So if you are someone who craved, let's say it's Monday when we're recording this. So let's say it's like a very stressful Monday or something. It's just stressful any day. And you might be the kind of person who says, I need to have like a donut. I'm going to go past my favorite donut shop and I'm going to get a donut with like a large coffee, milk and sugar, blah, blah, blah. Just like treat yourself. And that's a craving, right? Because that's now you're training your brain that whenever I'm stressed, I do this. So, for example, what I've tried to do, and I hope to be able to do today, is like today was like a bit of a tough day. So I was like, I can't wait to go like lift weights. I'm gonna go like listen to like very aggressive music on my headphones, and I'll like lift weights. And it's like you sort of replace a craving with a new craving. And I think that's another way to sort of like help balance it out. It's like you create these new habits that actually support the life you're trying to live rather than take away from the life that you want to live and make it more difficult for you.
That is so important because there's so much when we're looking at lifestyle and the choices we're making, we tend to focus on what we're cutting out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
cutting out dairy, I'm cutting out processed food, soda,
Right.
whatever it is. But by replacing it with something more water, then you're focused on doing something, the action versus not doing. And that has
Mm-hmm.
really helped me.
Oh yeah. And you know, I'm not qualified to talk all about like brain science, but it does seem that your brain likes to be able to say, "Oh, here's a new thing we get to do," rather than a list of things you don't get to do. That seems to be so much harder. It's like if you say to yourself, you know, like for example, I'm vegan, so if I just walked around every day and said, "Don't eat meat, don't eat meat, don't drink milk, don't eat cheese," right? That's a good song. But if you ended up doing that, it makes it so much harder because what's the focus on? I'm like looking and I'm seeing all the different like chicken restaurants and burger joints and pizza shops rather than focusing on what I can have. All I'm focusing on is what I can't have. And I think if you do that, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Mhm. And if you can be consistent with it, then there's always that tipping point where it's like, okay, even if I do decide to indulge in whatever cheese
Right.
or whatever your vice is, I've gotten to the point where it's like I can feel it in my body and physically, and it's like that wasn't worth it. So it's like you get to a point, it's like I don't even want it anymore.
Right. It's like you kind of like come back to your senses, like, what am I doing? Put the giant container like cheese puffs. Like put the giant container cheese puffs away. You don't need all this.
Yeah.
That's
You mentioned exercise.
mm,
One area that has been difficult for me to navigate throughout my journey,
yeah.
but I do believe that I've gotten much better at it,
Mm-hmm.
is deciphering when is it good to keep moving and
Right.
stretch, and when do you just need to pump the brakes and ice and elevate, use a cane or whatever medical
Seriously.
equipment you need,
That's
right?
right.
There's one day where I'd mentioned I was dealing with joint pain in my knee, and I did the stationary bike very lightly, but
Yeah.
I got off that bike and it was a not good situation. Like,
Right. Right. Right.
I had to bust out the crutches because it was like I
Come on.
couldn't put weight on it. It
Yeah.
was swollen. And at that time, like, there's nothing that I can do other than rest and ice
That's
to
right.
get this to calm down. And then as it calmed down, then I graduated to a cane and then started just kind of hobbling around, and
Yeah.
you get back into it. But there's other times where I've had joint pain in my knees and I get on the bike for 15, 20 minutes and I feels like a new knee when I'm done. Like,
Wow. Wow.
so just the light movement is enough to keep it moving. And I think a lot of times it gets so stiff that we're wanting to not move it and
Mm-hmm.
stabilize it. But sometimes that can be the worst thing for it.
No doubt about it. I had a great friend who gave me advice I'm going to share with you and everyone else. Slow motion is better than no motion. You know, just do what you can, even if it's just a little bit. Do what you can, but also, especially for those of us who are super competitive and maybe like super competitive even with yourself, know when to say, I don't have it today. Like it's okay. Because it's not as if you're gonna let that one day become 10 days, right? That's when it can become a real problem. But if you're able to sort of say, rather than trying to like prove whatever it is to yourself, just say, you know what, I'm gonna go back. I'll be back at it tomorrow. Like, what small, low range activity can I do here, wherever the here is, like just without injuring yourself or borrowing tomorrow's spoons. Just take care of yourself. Ultimately, you have to be able to take care of yourself, and I'll even go so far, Karin, to say you got to love yourself enough to not want to try to punish yourself with exercise. And these all are things, particularly exercise and eating well, should be things that feel as a part of your joy, not as something that's like a punishment or another task on top of everything else.
I love that because when you're conscientious of what you can do and you follow that and you respect yourself enough to know when to not push through, then you're able to recover and heal faster.
Hmm.
And then you're back on your feet quicker for the ones you loved and or whatever your why is, yourself and others a service, by knowing when to take it easy and not push through.
That's really it. That is really it. I'm thinking about some of the like the sort of tricks of the trade in terms of like food for a second. I've started to go and it's funny, like I've talked about this a lot with my wife in terms of, I'm Jamaican American, and I feel like there's certain foods that just like genetically have like a craving for. So for example, every time I go to the supermarket, I have to pick up a pineapple. And then like when I go home and like visit my family in Jamaica, I'm like, oh yeah, because pineapples are everywhere, right? It's like an apple up here, right? So just thinking about the different foods that you crave. But because I buy a pineapple so often, I've started taking the pineapple skin and boiling it with a piece of raw ginger, and I make this like pineapple ginger tea, and it is so delicious, and it makes you feel great because both of those foods, both the pineapple and ginger, are like top tier anti-inflammatory foods. They're really really good for you.
Okay, we're going to have to share that recipe and what exactly you need to do. I'm all into it.
Listen, we'll even I'll make a reel about it. It'll be fun. We'll get this going.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm here for
I
it.
found even so, as we talk about finding replacements for things, and food's a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, I had a similar, well, not related back to anything, but just discovering chia seed pudding,
Yeah,
the health benefits of that, and
that's
it's
right.
delicious.
It
I'm
is.
like, I wish this was in my life sooner.
That's it. That's it. Now,
But you
chia seeds are a mover and a groover. You gotta, make sure you're good because that pushes everything out. It gets things going. It gets the party started.
inside tip.
It pushes the traffic along. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey, like I said earlier with blood flow, it's all about getting everything moving.
that's right. That's everything moving. That's right. For sure.
But you feel better after
You
eating it. It's
do.
like I can't,
You do.
but I'm so thankful for this journey because otherwise I wouldn't have cleaned up my eating as
Of
much as I
course.
have.
Right, right. And thinking, as you say that, Karen, think about, if you're a go-getter, you're on the go, you're moving, you don't have time to always say, I'm going to meal prep or set up shop and buy, buy the high quality food all the time. Sometimes you're like, I just need this because I'm busy working, or like you may not have even eaten because you're like just so occupied with what you're doing. And to your point, I have found that this journey has required me to really slow down. And like I joked on Friday that I didn't have a great morning because I forgot to eat my berries. Like I needed my berries first thing in the morning, which is another anti-inflammatory. So thinking about all the ways in which we can incorporate this into a lifestyle that makes you feel better. Not even that it's like, oh, it's just good for you. Like you really feel the evidence of like, wow, my quality of life has increased.
Yeah, and you mentioned it it can be hard to meal prep all the time.
Mhm.
I will say there are some resources out there where if you're not a cooker, you don't have time, there's a lot of meal delivery services
Mhm.
that provide high quality ingredients, clean
That's
food
right.
options. You can go to invigorate
Mhm.
yourjourney.com/nutrition and there's some on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know I'm big into using turmeric, and I talked about ginger already. What sort of like herbal supplements have you found have been helpful for you? Like, are you someone who like you have to have like your B vitamins all the time? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I should mention vitamin D is something that I believe it's getting checked more often,
Okay,
but they are figuring out that a lack of vitamin D can trigger or link to autoimmune diseases.
no kidding.
Not that in itself, but it can be a
Part of
contributor.
it, yeah, yeah.
And because, especially for me, I'm in the Midwest, just
Oh,
lack of sun exposure
that's it.
can contribute. So making sure that vitamin D levels
Mhm.
are where they need to be. It's a quick test. So
Oh yeah,
not a lot of investment there, but an easy thing to check.
get that.
Another thing is my rheumatologist had me start taking fish oil.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
been really big for joint pain and
Mhm.
just really how I feel in general.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's really helped with inflammation and just kind of calm things down.
Yeah, fish oil.
One one other thing that I've done, you talk about just adding in stuff that makes you feel good, tastes good, good all the way around.
Yeah, yeah.
I've started putting cherry juice. It's um, a
Right.
liquid concentrate
Mhm.
into like LaCroix or carbonated water.
Right.
Oh, so good. And it's
Mhm.
got cherries are so great for antioxidants and
Oh yes.
anti-inflammatory properties.
Right. That's it. Yeah, I remember after that second flare, I used to go to, it must have been at Costco. They had this like giant box of cherry juice. So you can get like three of them in a pack. And I would just blow through those cherry drinks um in no time flat. I could feel like it was a part of like my rehabilitation getting back up to speed. It's a wonderful, wonderful ally in this work.
Yeah. I've mentioned before my challenges with avascular necrosis, which is, a degenerative bone disease.
Yeah.
And so I'm fortunate enough that my rheumatologist is at the Mayo Clinic, so
Great.
very
Yeah.
high quality. But even they referred me to a specialist in Cincinnati
Okay.
because I had AVN and multiple joints. They were like,
Right.
"We don't know what to do for you."
Right. Gotta get some help.
But I went there and he said I have quote unquote sticky blood. So
Hmm.
lack of blood flow.
Yeah. Sticky
Y-
blood.
Yeah, so that's what was causing the bones to
Right.
literally die is
Ah,
because
yeah.
they weren't getting enough blood.
Right.
So in order to combat that, he said, we're going to put you on B vitamins,
Hmm.
B12, B6,
Yeah.
and also methylfolate, which I think
Okay.
is a form of a B vitamin.
Okay.
Started taking the supplement. So mind you, I had this in 6 joints going within a matter of like 3 years.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very like intense. So that's why they were like, you need to go see this specialist. We don't know how to stop this from progressing.
Mm.
Anyway, I get on the supplements. Not a single instance after did I get another pop up of AVN.
Wow.
So these B vitamins like saved me
Yeah.
from more surgeries from
Right. Right.
once, like amazing.
Truly. Truly. It's just the amount of like discomfort and it's funny but not funny, ironic at best. This whole notion of, you know, autoimmune diseases can be worsened by stress, but as autoimmune diseases progress, they can be some of the most stressful things in our lives. Like just like thinking about the ways in which, you know, you're getting this news about necrosis and you're supposed to at the same time just chill out. But how are you supposed to chill out when you hear a diagnosis like that, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely challenging at times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I know that, you know, when we think about trying to manage stress, like it's really important to really come up with a plan that works best for you. I'm thinking about ways in which I've often tried to sort of like stack solutions in my life. So you think about like, you know, what it means to do something like a deep breathing exercise. Deep breathing, especially at nighttime, can help prepare you for getting ready to go to sleep, right? Or thinking about what it means to do some Pilates or yoga, something that helps to give you a good stretch. It can also help you to focus on, you know, what's positive in your life and help with your overall discipline. But it also helps to minimize the joint pain and lower your stress level. So what does it look like for you to sort of like consolidate all these good practices so that, you know, you're really raising the quality of your life for sure?
Breathing has been the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
When you are in the thick of it in so much pain, I just naturally I would catch myself where I'm like physically tensed up,
Mm-hmm.
grimacing, just trying to grin and bear it, get through it. But then when I started learning more about breathing techniques and getting into meditation, I learned how to breathe through the pain. And that also helped me become in tune with when am I pushing too hard and when
Right.
do I need to lay off a little
Yeah.
bit. And so just really being more conscientious about and bringing it internal and thinking about what I'm physically and mentally going through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really helped me navigate kind of the pain, but also the stress of it because I feel I am in more control of it. When you can breathe through it and then you're also adopting practices to help manage the inflammation long term through diet,
Absolutely.
exercise, and other lifestyle factors, the combination of it really helps get you through or set you up to positively deal with it because it's a long term thing, and anything that's that months or years, I mean, it's just mentally
Oh,
challenging.
no question about it. No question about it. It can just wear you down over time. Wear you down over time. So I know we want to share some tips for how you find relief in your everyday life. Because if you're anything like us, you know far too well how painful inflammation can be and how living with both pain and inflammation can be so challenging. So we want to share with you some strategies. And these are things you can put in your daily routine on how to manage symptoms. So one, thinking about applying heat and cold, right? I found even it was almost like it knew just in time for our conversation, because like my neck has been kind of tense. I was like, I just felt it like mid conversation. So I was like, right after this, I'm definitely going to try to apply some heat to my neck. And thinking about how something as simple as a heating pad or a warm towel, those things, going back to your earlier point, Karin, can increase blood flow, help you to relax tense muscles. But even something like cold therapy, like I remember growing up watching the Knicks, Patrick Ewing have these giant bags of ice on his knees somewhere around the third or fourth quarter. What does it look like to use ice pack or cold compress to help numb the area and reduce swelling? These things can help you really just make it through to whatever the next item on your task is. Even if the next item on your task is just chilling out, you still need to be able to have something to help you, you know, feel comfort throughout the day.
And those small things, like even if it's only 5 minutes with an ice pack, you're still nourishing yourself and taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So any small things to take an extra break or get a heating pad, play around with it. Some days heat might feel better if it's more in your muscle,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's more joint pain, ice packs can help.
Right.
But I said earlier, I think the most important thing is making sure that you're resting it when it needs to be rested. And I love the slow motion. It's so true.
Yeah.
You don't need to be, for me, you don't need to be doing hit workouts. Like,
Right.
gentle yoga is just fine.
Yeah. That's right.
And I've also found that when those opportunities kind of force you to slow down.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
true.
when I've had so many years with joint pain, I've just kind of closed up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I have joint pain, it's like, oh, this is a good opportunity to focus on stretching and flexibility. And
Yeah.
ultimately, that helps me with my HIIT workouts anyway, because I'm increasing my range of motion.
Yeah. That's the truth. That's the truth. You know, something that I was thinking about too is the ways in which, you know, if you overdo it, you're gonna need to you know really take a long break. If you decide I'm gonna do HIIT today, that might be the last time you work out this month, right? Like that might be really it. And it made me think about when I was 30. I had to use a cane for a few months because the pain was so bad, and it was such a hit to my pride to be so young and using a cane. You know, people unfortunately associate canes with like being like an old man, and like I had coworkers who try to make me feel good, like, oh, you look so cool and wise with your cane. And I was like, you're prettying this up. I don't feel great about it. But I just wanted to hear what you thought, Karin, in terms about embracing the assistance like canes, walkers, jar openers, all sorts of assistive devices. How have you found that you're able to deal with them? Like, have they helped provide a sense of assistance and allowed you to enjoy your life more, or were you like me and that you had a little too much pride to enjoy it?
At first, I definitely had too much pride.
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband. I'm like, this is embarrassing. I don't want to be using a cane. Like, what? He
Yeah.
was like, embrace it. Use it as a cool talking point. Like, it's fine. No one cares.
Right.
But now I'm to the point where I want to do everything I can to help myself
Of
and
course.
get out of that situation faster. I mentioned just a couple weeks ago, I was busted out the crutches because of
Sure.
my knee joint pain.
That's right.
But it's like, it is what it is. And
Hmm.
I would rather use the support so that I can get on my way faster. But also, like, if I wasn't using the crutches, like, I wouldn't have been able to move around.
That's
I
it.
I would have been stuck on the couch.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I need to be mobile. I want to
No,
be mobile.
no doubt about it. For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's funny. Like you saying that also hits at another thing that's really important about us sort of like understanding our new identities with the ailments and how it continues to sort of affect us is we are both go-getter types. And so the whole notion of saying like I want help or I need to take a break is not something that's usually or naturally a part of our vocabulary. But just thinking about the importance of taking regular breaks, giving yourself time to really rest and stretch and do all that you need to do to like prevent further inflammation. I find it amazing that so many employers now that we've reached a point in our like sort of work history are willing to accommodate folks and really make sure that you have what you need. I know for me, when I first was diagnosed, I really didn't want to have to tell anyone. It became too obvious once I was in the hospital for months, but I didn't want to tell anyone what I was going through. But thinking about now, we have the protections for people, so you can have that kind of transparency and communicate your needs and expectations, so that everyone knows what's going on.
And I found that when I am open and honest, transparent about it, that people tend to be more understanding and supportive than when I was trying to hide it, not
Right, right.
hide it, but not wanting to tell people about
Mhm.
it. But when you actually tell them what's going on, then you can work together to figure out solutions to accommodate whatever your situation is.
That's right.
Because we talk about this being long term, but things come and go. I had joint pain for 10 days and I woke up and it was gone. Like, it just, things come up and then they go away. So
Yeah.
the more you can just communicate that and be open about what your situation is and being open to finding different solutions, you can actually end up accomplishing or getting a lot more done by being open about it. And yeah.
Yeah. No, well, extremely well said. That's really it. Just and being in an environment, as best you can, to the best of your ability, like being in an environment where that's a possibility, right? Like I think we have to continue, just like societally, to demand this sense of I need to be my best self in order to work here. Like I can't do this if I'm not getting exactly what I need. And a key aspect of that is also rest. Um, we cannot burn the midnight oil and wake up doing farmer's hours. Like you have to make sure you're giving yourself enough time for your body to repair and rejuvenate. I remember Karin talking to my high school freshman when I was teaching English, and I was like, "How much sleep are you getting a night?" And they said on a good night, 5 to 6 hours. And we know just a average healthy high schooler needs closer to 10 hours of sleep. So just think about what it means for us as not just adults, but those of us who are living with autoimmune conditions. You're gonna need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep to really, really get the body in a healthy place and making sure that you're honoring your body's need for rest.
Yeah, you really need to prioritize your health and structure your day so that it's possible to get that rest and do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the flip side, there's going to be times where this isn't getting better.
Right.
This is longer than I'm willing to tolerate.
Yeah.
And whatever that point is, I think it's very important to loop your rheumatologist and care team into
Mhm.
the conversation. Even if you don't need an immediate treatment plan,
Right.
they should know what's going on and they can help advise you on next steps.
Exactly. It needs to be documented, to your point. People need to know, your team needs to know what's going on, for sure. For sure.
And then sometimes they can refer you to other specialists. So there was a time where I was dealing with joint pain and my rheumatologist referred me to a physical therapist.
Mhm.
And they actually were able to give me some exercises and some modifications so I could do them when with joint pain.
Right.
But it was really helpful because they were like, okay, you can push this hard, but then you should stop. So having that extra guidance on stretching at the
Right.
time was really helpful.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's what's key is understanding that, like, when it comes to pain, inflammation, all of us have such unique journeys. And it's important, while Karin and I are giving you wonderful information, you got to make sure you're talking to your team, talk to your rheumatologist, make sure you're getting a personalized treatment plan. Don't just go to Dr. Google. You got to make sure you're talking to actual professionals who can help you with the journey for sure.
No armchair diagnosing.
No. Oh, I saw a great YouTube. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
I was going to say, same with the supplements. Make sure you're talking to your doctors about what you're taking. It can all interact with medications and whatnot. So just make sure you're having a conversation about anything you're putting into your body too.
Please. That's vital. That is vital. Thinking about some of the things your doctor may do with you is, number one, talking about that treatment plan. Think about the ways in which they'll figure out the severity of the inflammation, the joint damage. Because if it's untreated, if you're like, I'm not going to talk about this with anyone, I'll just do it myself, you're putting yourself at risk for permanent joint damage by untreated inflammation. But doctors will be able to look at your overall health and determine what's most appropriate for you. And as Karin shared earlier, rheumatologists often refer patients to other professionals, so physical therapists, occupational therapists, pain management specialists. All of these folks can provide additional support and therapies to help manage joint pain and inflammation. And then they're able to follow up with you. So you may think, oh, it's nothing, I don't need to mention it to the doctor. But the doctor can now not only see the labs, but see the sort of anecdotal about, oh, this is the third appointment. So, for over the last 9 months, this patient has been speaking about that pain in their hip or in their wrist or in the ankle or wherever the pain may be showing up for you. And they can also provide you the resources to do the sort of lifestyle modification you need, and different self-care strategies to really make sure that you're living your best life.
With joint pain being so debilitating at times and having this being such a long-term thing, I think making sure that we have that open communication with the rheumatologist and the care team, as well as doing anything you can to help yourself clean up your diet, add in this ginger tea that Chris is gonna tell us about, and pineapple, right?
Can't forget the pineapple.
Right? So I can't say enough about how all of it together really can help. And I don't want that to sound overwhelming. Just these small, simple swaps that you can make, it all helps. So don't stress about it. Just do what you can and do what's best for you in that moment, because then you'll be able to get on your feet faster than ever.
That's the truth. That's the truth. So when you think about all this stuff, autoimmune diseases, joint pain, inflammation, yes, no doubt about it, they significantly can impact your quality of life. But with the right strategies, the right team, you can definitely reduce pain and inflammation. You can live a more comfortable and fulfilling life. So definitely want to encourage you to not view any of these crises that we go through with autoimmune diseases as the end. If anything, they're the beginning of another chapter in life. You're going to learn about how to adjust to it and hopefully learn how to still keep on living in spite of the difficulties.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, no problem.
So if you guys are looking for more information, make sure to check out the show notes. We'll put our resources and tools in there, along with check out invigorateyourjourney.com. We offer a lot of resources and sources on that website. So thank you and take care.
Take care, y'all.